want to welcome each and every one of you at the special edition of Financial Express CFO of the Year Awards 2019. Financial Express CFO of the Year Awards celebrates excellence, best practices, and outstanding achievements by India's leading financial officers. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this evening. May I now request Mr. Sunil Jain, Managing Editor, Financial Express, to kindly join us on stage for the opening remarks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, award winners, members of the jury, our chief guest, the doyen of the financial world, Mr. Deepak Parekh, our knowledge partner, Deloitte. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you for being here this evening. This is our third year of the CFO Awards, and thanks to a great jury, we have yet another year of great winners. And typically as journalists, as economists, as commentators of any sort, we tend to be focused more on the big number, the GDP, inflation, sales, profits. This award, unlike other awards, is about the people who are behind the scenes, who make these things happen. So I leave you back in the hands of our MC to conduct the rest of the evening. Thank you very much again for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for setting the perfect tone for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we promised you two parts to the evening, and we now move into our very first part of this evening, the panel discussion on a topic: has over-leverage killed India Inc.? I would now like to welcome on the stage our panelists.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. As my colleague Sunil was mentioning, it's been a tough few years for corporate India, and I agree with him that it's going to be tough for the next few years too. I think we should first try and assess how far away we are from the next investment cycle. So, Mr. Shah, if I could just call on you to, give us your sense of how far away are we?
Because of capacity having been built up, you're seeing a slowdown in capacity as demand catches up with capacity. I think the cycle will come back. Going forward, growth will continue. We are even now seeing 6.8% growth in real terms. So capacity utilization will improve, and then the cycle will come back.
Vishakha, if I could ask you to weigh in, will bankers lend to infrastructure anymore?
See, I think, whether the bankers will lend to infrastructure all depends on the risk and reward that you get. If you go by the past, that risk reward has not really worked. So of course, in the future, if we get enough, reward for the risk that we are taking, I'm sure they will lend to the infrastructure.
Amit, if I could ask you, is the 70-30 debt equity ratio that we followed all these years sacrosanct? Do you think promoters have enough skin in the game, or have they had enough skin in the game?
I remember from my days at ICICI, we were told that you begin with a 2:1 debt equity ratio. And that was kind of pretty much the rule, and depending on who the promoter was, on what sector, and whether it was in what was called a backward area then, you had this amount of promoters' contribution. Then suddenly it became, 1.1 became the accepted wisdom, and for a long time we kind of persisted with this 1.1. And then suddenly, I think after some time, after 2002, 2003, when companies started doing well, and there was this mad scramble for the power projects and coal mines and infrastructure projects, etc., we kind of pushed all this away and said we need to kind of move to cash flow based financing. And therefore, ratios like even 2.3:1 or 70-30 would be fine. Vishaka spoke about the fact that, you're going to give money to the road project. Earlier, when people were lending to the road project, they were quite happy to say, okay, you've got the concession agreement, let me lend. Now they want 70, 80, 90% of the land to have been acquired before you do that. So that kind of applies for all these.
You are a company which was at one time very, very highly leveraged. But I mean, obviously, you have managed your debt well. But in general, do you think that promoters have got away lightly?
It's obviously a subject which has got many angles. See, debt, I have always considered debt as the best form of non-permanent capital, but it has got an obligatory nature to it. If you use debt in inorganic circumstances where the business judgment is higher and somewhat uncertain compared to an organic growth, then it's a question of managing risks. That's how I see it, and that's how our system sees it.
Is India Inc. today in a position to borrow, or how much would you say can they borrow to be able to fund the next investment cycle?
At one level, if you ask whether India is over-leveraged, I would say look at an aggregate number, look at credit to GDP, for instance. We are still significantly lower, whether you take households, you take corporates, you take government, we're significantly lower than most other places in the world, definitely the larger economies that we want to compare ourselves to. The problem, I think, is arisen because the credit to GDP ratio actually rose very quickly. And whenever that happens, and then you have a plateauing of credit GDP ratios, you end up with somebody who's probably borrowed a little bit more than they can service at that point in time, and specifically in certain sectors, and I think that's what we're seeing play. I think to generalize that overall to say, therefore, India Inc. won't get money or nobody will get money, I think might be stretching it a bit too far.
Thank you so much, all of you, Mr. Shah, Amit, Vishaka, Ajay, and Koushik. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, all our panelists and our moderator for that thought-provoking panel discussion. I now request Mr. Anand Goenka, Executive Director, the Express Group, to kindly join us on stage to share the welcome address. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my father, Vivek Goenka, and the entire Express Group, once again, a very warm welcome. I thought I'd share instead a few thoughts about the evolving role of the CFO in a space that I'm a little bit more familiar with, and that is marketing. I think all around the world, and India is no exception, especially in the digital businesses, I find that CFOs spend a lot more time with the marketing chaps than I suspect they probably used to earlier. And certainly this has tremendously helped organizations change and evolve their marketing functions. Ads are no longer just about aesthetics and glamour, and CFOs aren't only getting involved to diplomatically reduce creative teams' budgets. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Express Group, a very warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Anand Goenka. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to have amidst us today Mr. Deepak Parekh, Chairman HDFC, as our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, as we now welcome Mr. Deepak Parekh onto stage to share words of wisdom with us. A loud round of applause, please.
Mr. Anand Goenka, Executive Director of the Express Group, Sunil Jain, Shobna, members of the Express Group, Financial Express Group, eminent jury members, CFOs, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Sunil, for inviting me here this evening. And before I begin, I wanted to just tell where's Shobna. You will have more capex, you will have less leverage, private sector will find the necessary capital, less companies will go to NCLT, promoters will be better behaved and better disciplined, and India will progress. We can't have so much negativism. Where is the capital going to come from? It will come, you will see. I think every CFO in this room would agree that we are in need of some non-crisis headlines for a change. Thank you, Anand, Sunil, and the entire team for recognizing this critical role of a CFO. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, sir. Your words always inspire. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to that part of the evening that we have all been eagerly waiting for, the Financial Express CFO of the Year Awards 2019. To present the first set of awards, along with our dignitaries on stage, I invite Mr. Yogesh Lakhani, Chairman and Managing Director, Right Outdoor, to join us. Welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we now begin with the first category, the Financial Express CFO Awards, Small Enterprises. In the Small Enterprises Services segment, the winner for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2019 is Alpha Geo Limited, Mr. Venkatesa Perumallu Pasumarthi. Our next winner is Nesco Limited, Mr. Dipesh R. Singhania. Thank you, Mr. Lakhani. Thank you very much. May I now invite Mr. Porus Doctor, Asia Pacific Leader, CFO Program and Partner, Deloitte India, to kindly join us on stage to present the next set of awards along with our dignitaries. In the Small Enterprise Services segment, our next winner is Deep Industries Limited, Mr. Chintan Parekh. Thank you very much, Mr. Doctor. Thank you for joining us on stage. Our next set of awards are in the Small Enterprise Manufacturing segment. The first winner in this category is Valiant Organics Limited, Mr. Arvind Kanji Cheda, Director and Chief Financial Officer, Valiant Organics. Our next winner is Genbergt Pharma Limited, Mr. Dilip Bhuta, Whole-Time Director and Chief Financial Officer, Genbergt Pharma. Our next winner is Multibase India Limited, Mr. Satya Nagesh Ventrapragada, Chief Financial Officer, Multibase India. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Kailash Jadhav, Joint CEO MIDC, onto stage to join our dignitaries. Moving on to the next category, which is Medium Enterprises segment, we now begin with the Services segment. The winner is Kovai Medical Center and Hospitals Limited, Mr. M.K. Ravindra Kumar, Chief Financial Officer, Kovai Medical Center and Hospitals. The next winner is TCI Express Limited, Mr. Muktilal, Associate Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, TCI Express. The next winner is New Gen Software and Technologies Limited, Mr. Arun Kumar Gupta, Chief Financial Officer, New Gen Software and Technologies. The next winner is Shreyas Shipping and Logistics Limited, Mr. Rajesh Desai, Chief Financial Officer, Shreyas Shipping and Logistics. Thank you, Mr. Jadhav. Thank you for joining us on stage. Let's move on to the next set of awards in Medium Enterprises Manufacturing category. The winner is Eris Life Sciences Limited, Mr. Sachin Shah, Chief Financial Officer. Our next winner is Kaplan Point Laboratories Limited, Mr. V. Muralidharan, Chief Financial Officer. Our next winner is Balaji Amines Limited, Mr. G. Hemant Reddy, Director and Chief Financial Officer. next winner is NoSil Limited, Mr. P. Srinivasan, President Finance and Chief Financial Officer, NoSil. Ladies and gentlemen, to now present the next set of awards, I welcome on the stage Ms. Preeti Mankotia, Director Partnerships and Alliances, SAP Conca, to join us and our dignitaries on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the next set of awards pertain to the Large Enterprises category. Our first winner in the Large Enterprises Services category for the Financial Express CFO Awards 2019 is Oracle Financial Services Limited. Please welcome Mr. Makarand Padalkar, Chief Financial Officer, Oracle Financial Services. Welcome, sir. Moving on, the next winner is CRISIL Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Welcome on stage, Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti, President and Chief Financial Officer, CRISIL Limited. The next winner in Large Enterprise Services segment is L&T Technology Services Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. P. Ramakrishnan, Chief Financial Officer, L&T Technology Services. The next winner is Tata Elxsi Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on stage, we welcome Mr. H.V. Muralidharan, Chief Financial Officer, Tata Elxsi. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Prakash Shah, Director Finance and Business Development, Hirnandani Group, and Mr. George Varghese, Group CEO, the Express Group, to kindly join us on stage to present the final set of awards. Ladies and gentlemen, Large Enterprise Manufacturing segment is where we are at. The winner for FECFO Awards 2019 is Hindustan Unilever Limited. Please put your hands together as we welcome Ms. Asha Gopalakrishnan. The next winner in the same category is Natco Pharma Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome on the stage Mr. Appa Rao, SSVN, Chief Financial Officer, Natco Pharma. Moving on to our next winner is GSK Consumer Healthcare Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome Mr. Vivek Anand, Executive Vice President Finance. And our final winner in Large Enterprise Manufacturing segment, and the award goes to P&G Hygiene and Healthcare Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Prashant Bhatnagar, Chief Financial Officer, P&G Hygiene and Healthcare. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to that special segment of awards which recognizes the distinctive role that leaders in the industry have played in their individual capacity in the development of their organizations. So the first award in the individual capacity is for Financial Express CFO of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, the Financial Express CFO of the Year 2019 is Mr. Srinivas Pathak, Executive Director Finance and IT and Chief Financial Officer, Hindustan Unilever. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, Mr. Pathak is traveling overseas and couldn't make it for the ceremony here today. I now invite Mr. Kannan Ganesan, General Manager Finance for Sales and Customer Development, Hindustan Unilever, to kindly join us on stage and receive the award on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, the second award in the individual capacity is the FE Newsmaker of the Year Award 2019. It recognizes a leader who has made the biggest news splash in the last year with his innovative ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, FE Newsmaker of the Year Award 2019 goes to Mr. Shashidhar Jagdishan, Chief Financial Officer, HDFC Bank. A much louder round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Join us in congratulating him.
To the Financial Express Group, to the eminent jury members for conferring me on this award, thank you so much. I humbly accept this on behalf of the 100,000 plus employees of HDFC Bank.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the final award for the evening. Financial Express CFO Award, the Lifetime Achievement Award 2019. This award is being conferred on a veteran financial professional who, with his vision and exemplary contribution, has not only shaped the future of the Indian industry, but has become an inspiration to many. Ladies and gentlemen, for this achievement, Mr. Koushik Chatterjee, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer, Tata Steel, wins the FECFO Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Parekh. It's an honor to receive the award from you. Thank you, Financial Express, the jury. I can only say that you don't need any rocket science. It's the basic elements and hard work and integrity that gives us a beautiful journey in our professional life. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now request all our winners and partners to kindly join us on stage for a group photograph with our distinguished chief guest, Mr. Deepak Parekh.